Okay, so in this video, what we're going to cover is the complete, from beginning to end and everything in the middle, the complete property deal sourcing and trading process. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that property sourcing, step one, is about sourcing deals, going on viewings, putting in offers, and it's a common mistake that people make, but that's not where we're going to start. So we're going to start over here, find the investor client. That's the column that we're working down. You work down each coloured column, I should say, in order. So we're starting off with sourcing the investor first. That's the first thing you do. That is step one of the property deal sourcing process. So we're going to find the investor first, then we're going to qualify the investor, and we do that by sending them the sourcing agreement that you have access to on the property deal sourcing course. You're going to send a sourcing agreement, and when you get that back, what you are going to have at that point is all criteria. So everything that investor is looking for is going to be in there because they will have answered all the questions within the sourcing agreement. And essentially what that does is it does qualify the investor. You find out what they're looking for, what location, what budget they're working with, how they're going to fund the purchase, what the timescales are. So are they ready to invest today? Is it in the next 0 to 3 months? Is it 6 months to 12 months? Is it further on? And that's a key question in there, because what we want is to be onboarding investors that are ready to invest now. So if somebody fills in your sourcing agreement, you onboard them, and they say, I'm ready to invest, but it's going to be 6 to 12 months or, 12 months plus. It's an idea. They're at the idea stage. They've got the idea that they want to invest, but they're not ready now. So you would send them basically a nurture campaign, an email campaign that kind of keeps them on ice, ready for when they are ready to go. 12 months in the future, you're going to be diarising that, and you're going to be reaching out to them and dealing with them then. That question is so key because it allows you to focus on the investors that are ready to go now, ready to invest today or in the next 0 to 3 months. They're the investors that you want to be focusing on. So that's why we ask that question in the sourcing agreement, along with everything else. Then what we've got obtain the ID and the proof of funds. Obviously, that is part of your AML checks, know your customer checks, KYC. Then we're going to carry out the AML checks, the anti-money laundering checks, as per the training. Then you're going to ask your investor at this stage, it's a good idea, if they require any additional services, so help with mortgage brokers, maybe bridging finance brokers. Do they need help project managing if it's a refurb? You could potentially offer that as a service. Do they need access to your build team? Do they need a viewing report on the property done? Additional services, don't forget, may carry extra fees for yourself. So it's about understanding how your sourcing business is set up, what additional services you can offer and what you're willing to offer, and then what the price points are of each one. So the sourcing fee, as you know from the training that you've already been through, the sourcing fee is usually around 2% of the purchase price. So that's the first column done. So that's the first, this is where you start. And next up, we've got the sourcing phase. So this is when we actually think about going out and finding the opportunities. So the sourcing phase is looking for opportunities. Surprise, surprise. Then we're going to, once we've found an opportunity, it looks like, it's got potential. Then we're going to obviously analyze the numbers and the location based on the investor criteria that we got from the sourcing agreement. Then we're going to create the investor pack to send over to the investor with all of your due diligence and the property details itself. So it's kind of like a property brochure. Then we're going to agree to call the investor to discuss, once they've looked over the brochure, once they've looked at the opportunity, and we're going to get their feedback on the deal. Now, this is key. So if it's positive, fantastic, you're going to carry on moving through this process. However, if it is negative and the investor says it's not for me, you don't leave it there. You need to be asking serious questions along the lines of, why doesn't it work for you? What's not quite right with the deal? Is it the cash flow? Is it the return on investment? Is it the area? What's what's wrong. Because if you understand what's made it a no from them, in as much as they don't want to move forwards, if it's a no, then you need to understand why it's a no, because you need to then maybe tailor what you're looking for and how you're approaching finding an opportunity for that key investor. So it's always key to understand when things don't work, why are they not working? Why is it not a deal for them? What's wrong? Then we are going to potentially at this stage, you're going to be arranging a viewing and maybe take a video, do a video tour and then provide that to the investor. The investor at that point has everything they need to make a decision. So they're at the point really where they're going to decide whether they're going to move forwards or it's not for them. So decision time. So the investor decides to buy or not. So in this scenario, obviously we're going through the process in full. Let's say they want to move forwards. So the decision is yes, they want to buy. So now we're in this red column, the buying phase. So you're going to send the buyer's fee agreement to your investor. And the buyer's fee agreement is essentially you locking in your fee. The buyer's fee agreement dictates, well, basically it's a contract, a one or two page contract, as you know from the training, where you set out your fee and your if you're offering any additional services. So let's say, as an example, there's a sourcing fee, and there's also going to be some project managing fee as well, because you're going to project manage the refurb as well. So there's going to be two fees in there. It's essentially your terms of business. That's what the buyer's fee agreement is, and it's you securing your fee. Because we don't use NDAs. Do not use non-disclosure agreements. NDAs, do not use them for sourcing. You need to use these contracts that we provide. Next up, we've got submit the offer on behalf of the investor client. So if it was up with an agent, or maybe you're going through an agent, or if it's direct to vendor, you're going to submit the offer to the vendor or the agent at this point. Then you're going to obtain the investor's solicitor details for the purchase, because you're going to need them if you're the point of contact, because the estate agent, if it's an agent that you're dealing with, as an example, they will ask for the solicitor details of the buyer. And they'll also ask for proof of funds and ID, because they will have to carry out their own checks on the buyer. Next up, we've got ask to be copied in on all the emails between solicitor and investor, so you can push the sales process as much as possible. You want to remain involved as much as possible, so that's why we say that. What you want essentially is weekly updates to make sure that there are no outstanding inquiries that you couldn't, that you can assist with. Because what you'll find is, once the conveyancing process starts, the solicitors are dealing with the searches, the survey maybe being carried out on behalf of the lender, etc. What a lot of the delays that you get with buying a property in the UK, it's one side, it's one solicitor waiting for an answer from the other side. So when we say outstanding inquiries, that's what we're talking about, because one solicitor could be sat on their hands waiting for the other solicitor to respond to a question. You can speed up that process, just making sure that information is flowing back and forth and that nobody's waiting on any information that could be dealt with easily. So you can speed things up a little bit by getting involved in that and just making sure nothing's outstanding. That's the buying phase done, really. So now we're over to the green column, the last column. We're nearly home and dry. So now we're at the stage of getting paid and aftercare. So when the property exchanges contracts, you can then invoice your investor for your sourcing fee. We say that because you get paid at the end of the process. However, when you exchange contracts during the conveyancing process, that makes it legally binding. So the buyer has to then move forwards and buy the property. There's no turning back once you exchange contracts. So at that point, you can invoice your investor for your sourcing fee. And then money in the bank. You've got your sourcing fee. Your sourcing fee hits the bank. Amazing feeling. And that is pretty much it. Unless you are offering things like project management. So if you're offering project management, that's when that's going to begin, when the keys are passed over and the sale completes. The project management is going to begin, the refurb's going to begin, and you may well still be involved. So you're going to collect your fee for project management when the refurb's complete, or when the property then sells on again, if the investor is flipping the property and not retaining the property. If it's a buy-to-let, obviously you wouldn't be involved, you wouldn't be offering project management, you'd just simply take your fee, and that would be the end of the process. And that's it. Deal packaged and sold. Step by step. So like I said at the beginning, it starts with the investor. It starts with finding the investor, qualifying the investor, find out what they want. Simple as that. Because if you find exactly what they're looking for and you put that in front of them, what's going to happen? Logic dictates to you that they're going to buy. They're likely, highly likely to buy that thing that you've put in front of them. So don't make the mistake that lots of property sources out there do, where they run around thinking they need to be doing 100 million viewings a week, they need to be putting in offers on things, and they need to find deals for their investors. No, it's not how we do it. It's more bespoke, it's more nuanced than that. It's, if you want to waste your time, do it that way. Seriously. If you want to be proactive and you want to be effective and you want to put money in the bank, find your investor first. And I say to people all the time, I mention this on the podcast a lot, as with deal sourcing, with property sourcing, if you find the investor client and you onboard them, you are 70% of the way done in terms of the whole process. Because that's the hardest bit. Once you've got the investor, you've got the money is on ice. That is the way to look at it. The money is waiting on ice. All that remains for you to do is go and find that thing, that property, that opportunity that fits the criteria of your investor client. That's all you have to do to get the money. And that's it. That is the complete step-by-step property deal sourcing and trading process. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It is pretty straightforward, but if there's any questions and you're part of the PSN Property Basecamp Mentorship Program, reach out and ask away and we'll clear up any questions. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video.